I've been hoping you have a fantastic day, and welcome back to 922. We're going to left off of now talking, I guess, with Fisher, and things escalating. I have no idea how close we are to the ending. Like, I genuinely have no idea. I'm getting a little paranoid that I'm going to end the episode, or one of these episodes, like right like 5 minutes before an ending. So I think I'm going to be now brute forcing the rest of the game with this recording and just keep going until I'm done, because I just got that horrible feeling that's going to happen. But let's get back into it. But before we do, of course, you should check out my Discord server. Join my Discord server if you haven't already. Friendly people all around and all that stuff. And I'm social on there, yada yada. Just be sure to read the rules, as is usual with any other respectable place. And otherwise, let's just get into it. Oh, man. Fisher, though. Can I be honest with you boys? You two are really starting to piss me off. That stunt you pulled, you can't even begin to imagine the amount of risk you put us all into. Oh, damn, he looks old. Is this after we went into the bunker? I don't remember him looking that old, but damn. Very clever otherwise. There had been attempts to establish communication between folks and their mirrors, you know. Oh, they're just all but confirming it? That was it? It's just mirror worlds? That was actually it, not rather than an assumption? There had been attempts to establish communication between folks and their own mirrors? It's not that, like, Spencer was a poltergeist, as the one friend, Ian, I think, kept on saying, but it's just a mirror reflection of themselves? Always in a lab setting, of course, and never successfully enough. I believe the term they used at the time was suicidal. He laughs and tosses a french fry into his mouth. What did I tell you, Spencer? Is this guy resourceful or what? You fellas not hungry? It'll get cold if you stare at it for too long. You... Go on, we're all friends here. You backed us into a corner. What do you think we're gonna do? Kurt's words come out in a monotone, just barely above a whisper, like someone turned the volume on him all the way down. Nothing as spectacular, that's for sure. I knew that you were going to pull something eventually, but I'm no fortune teller. You ain't as predictable as Spencer here. Joke's on me. Don't take it the wrong way, but in the back of my mind, I kind of assumed you'd fail no matter what you two would have done. Case in point. He puts his burger down so he could dig around in his coat. Here. He slides a phone between our trays. A phone? This lobotomy patient's phone. No one ever tell you not to use your birthday as a password? Kurt moves his hand towards it. Fisher makes no signs of stopping him. Gotta hand it to you. What you got on there is some serious good work. Learned a couple of things I didn't know, and I'd been there myself in the flesh. When an archaeologist finds all this out, in 1,000 years they'd be beyond themselves to read such a complete story. Kurt drags the phone down into his knees. Shit. Hope you liked what you saw. Does this include also the gay porn? A smirk! Fisher bursts out laughing. You bet I did. Is that what you're worried about? That I'd think less of you because of your work relationship with Andrew Park? Young man, someone like me is the last person to get judgmental over how you accomplish your goals. You knew about these two, Spencer? I'm not surprised. It's none of my business. Attaboy. So is that what this is? What do you think this is? You're gloating. You bring me out here so you could look me in the eyes and say nothing I do matters. Is that really what it is? Just kill me now if you really don't care. Don't be an idiot. He clears his throat. Just like, seriously, off the record, I want to clear my throat too. Every time I'm trying to read one of these, it feels like one of those kind of summer allergy seasons kicking in, and there's like in the back of my nose, it feels like there's a clog, and it's making me sound more nasally than I want to be. There's a reason why our little meetings in a food court as opposed to some empty lot. I'm not here to kill you, you know I won't. You would not have come here if you thought any other way. Though let me tell you, if you start getting any bright ideas... He presses on the side of his coat meaningfully. It's the outline of a gun. You can't imagine how hard it is to choke someone to death. As you demonstrated, I'm no longer in a position where I can take chances with you kids. If I wanted either of you dead, you would have been dead, got it? You would have been so dead, so long ago. He picks up a fry, swirls it around in ketchup, and waves it at Kurt. You know why, don't you? Not really. Bah, don't give me that. Do you want to make any guesses, Spencer? He's looking at me. He wants me to talk. My jaw aches from staying clenched for so long. You won't risk it, won't you? That's what it is, isn't it? You'll die somehow and you don't want to die. Is that not what you said? Nice to see your ears aren't just for show after all. He shoves the fry in his mouth. Why'd I call you here? That's the reason. You and I, the three of us, we're in a bind. I can't get rid of you, and let me tell you a secret, you can't get rid of me either. So I'm sitting in my car last night, just finished up doing some damage control over the mess you made, and I'm thinking to myself, old man, why are you still playing this game? You could tell, couldn't you? I stopped sabotaging you fellas a while ago. I didn't get lazy, if that's what you'd thought. Figured that if I let you do your thing, you'd eventually unearth enough material to deter you from messing with the gate. You know what, now that I think about it, that must be a mistake I made. It's likely no coincidence that you weren't able to. What are you on about? Fisher takes a sip of Pepsi. Fisher's a Pepsi guy, not even a Coca-Cola guy. Now you know what kind of person he is. You don't happen to believe in fate, do you? Think about it. Had you found out about it, Andrew Park would have found out about it as well. That guy, he's not like us. He doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. He would have relayed this information to someone else, and someone else would have relayed it to the world, and then the entire town goes kaput. What? Don't suppose folks your age still listen to the radio. 5 car crashes since yesterday. The talk radio hosts are barely able to string a sentence together. Hell, look around you. He waves his burger towards the few people in the court. Did you not take notice it took 10 minutes to get my damn order in? It's not only you two and the cashier that must have mush for brains today. The security personnel had posted that you had been disposed of. What you'd done to them is happening, to a lesser extent, to everyone. People in a 20-mile radius are walking around feeling like they forgot what they were doing 5 minutes ago. How about that? It's on you, fellas. Your little stunt did that, and it would be a happy miracle if that much is the only thing that it caused. Alright, I hear you. I'm putting the cart before the horses, making all these accusations. You want to know what's going on, don't you? One of the fry seems to catch his attention. He pushes it aside, dusts off his hands, and tears open a new ketchup package. Oh, he's a ketchup dipper type too. I don't know about you guys, and it's a to each their own, but I think French fries are best when just left on their own. Nicely salted, fresh and hot, crunchy outside, soft potatoey inside. Nice and just perfect. The salt and the flavor and the potato and the crunch, it should be the perfect profile. You shouldn't need ketchup, unless just to like change up the palate from time to time, and that's about it. But goddamn, ketchup just like gushed on all the fries though, as if it's a salad and salad dressing, but for potatoes? I don't get you people. But let's get back onto the point. The RLJ, Rockland Looking Glass, in official documentation, is a natural phenomenon we dug up in the 60s. Total accident, as far as I know. It's a gate, as in a passage between two places. What are these places? Oh, my God. What are these places? He pauses to push aside his hill of ketchup packages to reveal a mayo one. Having squeezed all the ketchup from the last packet into his tray, he tears into it as well. RLJ primary and RLJ secondary, that's what the gate connects. A bit of a mouthful, that, so we always called them World A and World B. Get used to the terms. When someone from World A goes through the gate, he ends up on World B and vice versa. You know what? Isn't it just basically Angels with Scaly Wings, but with less tech? It feels like this is just the direction that Angels with Scaly Wings was going before I stopped playing it temporarily. It just feels like this is the direction we'd be going. Like, we have World A, World B, and it's about getting the tech from, A and B and the information of A and B. It's almost like very similar plot lines, isn't it not? Well, I don't know. And the thing about them is that they're identical. Everything in each world's history up until today is exactly the same. You with me? Kurt's been chewing on the same bite for 5 minutes. He swallows and nods. And you? Go on. Swell. There's a problem with what I said. How do we know that there's a gate between two worlds if they're completely identical in every way? That's the main history lesson. The crew who dug out the tunnel in the first place lost their minds. What was later discovered is that, since both worlds are identical, the same person would be crossing from A to B, and from B to A at the same time. Same time? Wait. If it's like the same time, then it's like they're predestined, almost like fated, that the one on mirror B and the one from A mirror... I mean, that's why they probably call it, or emphasize calling it, mirrors instead of timelines, or, Marvel-styled multi-universe theory stuff, right? They call it mirrors because for them to say the identical A and B have to basically want the same thing at the exact same time and be crossing at the same time, while being in polar opposites, akin to a mirror, like when you look at your own reflection kind of thing, or akin to a shadow, which is exactly why I was probably thinking for the longest time that it would be mimics or shadow creatures for that very reason, but it ends up, instead of being shadow, it's more mirror wording. But alright. But for whatever reason, one of these two identical people would be lost and the remaining person would come out on either A or B. Those poor ignorant men were going in and out of the RLG sites multiple times a day, and I'm sure you saw what happens when you mess around with it. Symptoms unlike my security crews yesterday. The last of them, I heard, passed away in 1991. Not to pour salt on your wounds, but rest assured he had not led a happy life. Got any questions so far? Why are you telling us this? That's cold, Spencer. I just told you you'd given permanent brain damage to 4 people, and you won't even act shocked. He squeezes the mayo out right onto the ketchup and starts mixing the concoction around with an end of a fry. I used to remember mixing ketchup and mustard a lot, and then dip hot dog weenies into. It's a good combination. I don't know about mayo, though. My gamble is that you'll leave the gate alone once you get in your head. Once you get in your head, just how mental your antics are. Any non-stupid questions? The worlds are identical. Right. Doesn't matter if you're going into the Institute or out of it. No, you only have to cross the gate. Which side is the real one? The worlds are identical, the same, equal. One isn't more real than the other. What was I saying? I mean, they'd have to have evidence that a person who's crossed the world can confirm that, or much rather, I guess, one of them, let's say a person in World A, or even Steins Gate, a person would have to go from A to B, recognize that they are from A and are in B, and then be able to look at all of the evidence and make sure it's equal in a way of saying that it's not equal simply on presentation, but since they said the history and everything else, I'm going to imagine that basically there's no loophole or, Swiss cheese logic to this plot. But, right. As I said, suddenly there's a person that only exists on one of the worlds. What happens then? There's now a discrepancy, a desync. World A continues as if person A is missing, while World B does not. And for the most part, that's okay. It depends on who they are, naturally, but in general, things keep going in a parallel just fine. An average Joe going about their day-to-day life isn't going to change the world in a day. In a day. I'm phrasing it that way because that part's important. The brainiacs are still poring over this one, but every morning the discrepancy seems to fix itself. I bet my shiniest nickel that you two have noticed. Everyone experiences it a bit differently, but things go a bit funny for a moment, and then, bam, the world slimes back into alignment. I mean, like with Ian becoming Christian when he hated it at first, I'm assuming. History has rewritten itself. You don't know what I'm talking about, Spencer? I think I do, but maybe not Spencer, I guess. Fisher stabs a fry in Kurt's direction. He knows what I'm talking about. No, I know. I've been waking up at... You sleep through it? Ha! That's rich. It's my alarm clock. I see it every morning. It wakes me up at 9:22. That's right. 9:22 in the morning and 4 seconds and 834 milliseconds today. There's a bit of a drift, and you have to be careful around daylight savings day, but you got it right. It happens every day at around the same time. Remind me to show you the cesium clock we have down there. That's calibrated to track the drift. It's some smart stuff. You boys into physics? No. The resyncs? They're perfect? Not big on small talk, are you? No. As you're insinuating, realignments aren't perfect. Hell, everything that happens between realignments isn't perfect either. I'm neither a physicist nor a theologist, but to me it all always seemed kind of loosey-goosey. Organic was the term the doctorates always used. Let me give you an example. That original construction crew, when someone's gone that way, when they merge with their mirror, they're gone. There's no way to unpass through the RLG. When the worlds are realigned, they don't bring back the person's mirror. So now there's a bunch of people running around doing their own thing on each world separately. You can imagine how this snowballs, right? Not long after, there's an entire platoon on either side trying to push their world in any which way. It gets more complicated. A mirrorless person on World B may force someone regular into the gate. This action doesn't happen on World A, right? So the regular person now exists on World A twice. That's how there's two of you, Mr. Abrams. Spencer here graciously led you down the gate without your knowledge back when you two first met. Now, as you can imagine, this leads to all kinds of wondrous consequences. Over the years, they've discovered that so many things leak through. Most striking is that if a mirrorless is instrumental to someone's death, it never carries over to the other side. God, the universe, what have you, tries its best to make things work despite it, to get things in line. But over time, things become a mess. Impossible things start popping in and out of existence at any time and any place. The RLJ is a phenomenon. See, it is cold and uncaring. Whoops. Trying to reason with it is like asking an earthquake to reschedule. It only has one job. The worlds, their history, must be kept synchronized, and if it needs to, it will rip the neurons right out of your head. Another example, less dramatic, more topical. Spencer and I get to keep our memories. What? I'm merged with my mirror, and Spencer's is dead. There's nowhere to copy our memories over to. He's merged with his. And that's what I was thinking is what happened to Spencer, but just that the David was like, some kind of clone, like I brought up in previous episodes, so It's Fisher's was merged, so I was like on the right track, but not for the right character. For you, on the other hand, unless I miss something, not only is your mirror still live, but he's now here with us somewhere on World B. Okay, so wait, we're in World B currently? I mean, I guess that's what happened when they ran into the bunker. They both went into World B. Okay. So, let me try to break this down then. Fisher is A and B. We are currently... I'm going to assume then the David, or the one that was dead, is then the Mirror B Spencer, while Spencer's probably World A, unless there's some kind of plot twist where it's just like the World B Spencer invaded World A first, and then World A is trying to hold things back. It could get really complicated, but so apparently Kurt, A and B exists. But Fisher was the one that still killed World B Spencer. Have we been told why they had to strangle one of the Spencers? Unless I'm missing something. But I'm going to assume that everyone here is basically World A, except for Fisher since he's merged. While everyone about the B world, B Spencer's dead, B Kurt's around somewhere, and Fisher's is Fisher. And that's basically a nice summary. The RLG doesn't do what it does when both mirrors are on the same world. Actually, did I miss this? Wait. Yeah, you're still alive. There's only one Kurt Abrams, even if two of him are running around. What happens when both of them bump into each other, though? Let me be frank with you for a second. I'm surprised you're still able to form a complete phrase. For most zombies that the RLG created, it took much less. What you've done with your mirror, all that coordination, how long have you been talking to something that can't exist? By all conventional wisdom, there shouldn't be much left of your mind. You can't remember? Is it like it's everything that's in a book? And that's why it's like so comprehensive that they've like Kurt A and B have been working on creating the conspiracy and the book, and both of them are basically penned by the same person so they can keep their memory rather than keep it in their heads like Spencer tries to do. I'm guessing is how it works. Like it's just Kurt A and B working on the journal or the investigation and the phone or wherever he keeps his information. But Andrew, it's just like, Andrew's just who Kurt drags along with his information. I'm guessing is basically the mark. I remember sometimes, other times I have to piece it together. It's like I know I must have done something, but I can't remember having actually done it. Huh. What? What were you about to say? Aren't you gonna explain why that is? That part's actually straightforward. Every day, only one world gets to be dominant. It's either World A or World B. Everything that happened on the dominant world gets copied over to the non-dominant... Wait, what? Everything that happened on the non-dominant world disappears. What controls what is the dominant world and not dominant world? Unless it's just because A is... I'm gonna assume maybe that's where the Marvel stuff kicks in, maybe, to make things easier to understand. Is like Earth Prime is how they explain it in like the DC universe or Marvel. That there's like an original and everything else is kind of like deviations. Is that what they're going for in this? With the big asterisk that both parts of the process are far from perfect. That's basically it. That's why you remember things the way you do. It's a side effect of being out of sync with your mirror. We've seen it 1,000 times. I see. Yeah, things are starting to slide into place. That's it, huh? That's the story of RLG. Saying RLG is such a pain mouth, like it's a tongue twister. It makes me keep wanting to say RLJ because that's just so much easier pronounced than RLG. I don't know why. Don't look too excited now. So what's so dangerous about it? Boy? Good question. As I said, With continued activity, the worlds drift increasingly apart. Remember how I said the average Joe living out his average life is unlikely to cause any significant discrepancy to form? Well, what if Joe wasn't average? What if there were 2 or 3 Joes all doing whatever the hell they please? I'll tell you what happens. History starts having trouble welding itself back together. Before you know it, half the town is wiped off the face of the earth. Like what happened in 71. Yes. Like what happened back then. The administration were so sure they buried the story, to think that you kids were able to piece it together. Good work. Kurt, are you still with us? Fisher upturns the remainder of his fries onto the tray and tosses a couple of small burnt ones whole in his mouth. I believe I got my point across, and you don't like me, I get it, I don't like you either. But if there's one thing I want you two to take away from this, is that you must stop fucking around. I'm going to repeat this because I want to make it clear. You must stop fucking around, don't fuck with the gate, and don't fuck with me. It doesn't matter what your adolescent moral compass is saying. The risk far outweighs the reward. That's all I had to say. Got it? See, I make a really good angry character, maybe, with my tone. Did I make myself clear? Why? Yes? Why are you having this conversation? Is your head screwed on, right? Didn't I spend the last half an hour explaining it? Like, he wants to explain it, so you don't fuck around, Spencer. Come on, this dog is slow. All you explained was how your haunted mansion works. My jaw scrapes open as if it had been closed for 1,000 years. I speak slowly. Words come to me a moment before they leave my mouth. Yeah, most young people do that. You didn't explain us. Why are you talking to me? You started it, didn't you? You got the wheels turning in the first place. None of this would have happened if you didn't make me come here. What's in it for you? Spencer not fucking around, I guess. You're ruthless today, Spencer. I getcha, I getcha. I see what you want me to say. Sadly for you, I meant what I said last time we met. I wanted to meet my grandson. Is that so hard to believe? You fucking killed me. Ha, you fucking tried to kill me first. Ain't it beautiful how it works? You don't even remember. Little man, you tried to bash my head in with a rock. The only reason I'm still standing is because you're a limp-wristed wimp. Damn, he could have said it with an F word instead. And he'd not be wrong! Ha! Bullshit. That's bullshit. Why'd I want to kill you if you've done nothing? You're making shit up. There's a lot of reasons to want me dead, Spencer. But why'd you specifically want to kill me? Your guess is as good as mine. We were getting along just dandy for a couple of weeks until I just turn around and you're trying to cave my skull in. It doesn't matter. Ugh, and my voice keeps cracking, oh god. I've all but forgiven you and forgotten about it. It was all lost the moment your mirror died. Okay, so now at least we got an explanation, though, as to why Spencer... But is it Spencer A or B? They haven't really said which one Spencer is. Was it like the original Spencer then that died? Or was it when they traveled to World B basically to investigate, and then basically it's like Spencer B somehow figured or just felt as if Fisher A or A and B, like there's something weird about it. So we need to still figure out the mystery of why Spencer wanted to kill Fisher then, and which version of Spencer is the living one, basically. It was all lost the moment Ymir died. Now, I'm not going to pretend like this entire thing was not a massive mistake. I'm a big man, I make mistakes. This was one of them. I don't care what you think of me. What I want is for this town not to turn into dust. We don't have to be friends, but we have to be at peace with one another. For the last time, don't fuck with the gate, do you understand? I understand. Great! Before we part ways, I want to leave your gentlemen with a couple final thoughts. Think things over. Take your time. That's a lot to take in, and I don't want you to do anything rash. Spencer, let's meet up next Thursday, 9 a.m. down in the basement. My men will let you in. Only you. What's the point? The point? For one thing, we have to figure out what to do with Kurt. For another thing, your cooperation will give me some peace of mind. Peace of mind? We both know what you're thinking of, so as a deterrent, I'll disclose one last thing about the gate. Think back to what I said. Every morning, either World A or World B gets to be dominant. If World A is dominant, anything that happens on World B the prior day disappears. There's a missing piece of information here. How does the RLG choose which world is dominant? I was asking this question! Someone. No one knows. We never figured it out. No one knows except for me. That's my trump card. You won't outsmart me. Don't try. I'll give you an out, Spencer, an alternative. If you don't show up next week, if you truly can't stand to live with me around, I advise you to run. Run far, far away. Well, yes, good information and lore dropping. I'm tired, exhausted, like I simultaneously ran a marathon and crammed for calculus, all while drinking a gallon of vodka, while taking chunks from Kurt. I'm in a state of hangover, in a world where hangovers never let up. That was it, huh? Using what little mental effort I can muster, I try to find the contradiction that would unravel Fisher's explanation into what it must be. A story, a tale to scare children out of venturing too deep into the woods, a bold-faced lie? His words and phrases come to me out of order at random. Some words are suspicious, behind some words there's hidden information, hidden threats, and yet nothing else explains what I've gone through in the past week. Nothing that isn't even more outlandish. How ridiculous. How fucking absurd of me to ever doubt Ian and his gang of Scooby-Doos. Of course, all the History Channel Ghost Hunters shit is real. Fisher said to think it over, so I do. I think myself a new headache on top of the old one. I think until I'm no longer capable. When that happens, I crawl under my blankets and sleep instead. Once I'm done sleeping, I turn over and go back to sleep. I sleep forever, beautifully, uninterrupted, as though I had never slept before. When I can't sleep anymore, I'm not well rested. Every bone, every piece of cartilage and sinew throughout my body is buzzing for attention. I lie on my back, unable to twist in any which way to make myself comfortable, and look at the bottom of the vacant bunk above. I memorize every square inch of the mattress fabric over the dim light coming in through the window from the street lamps below. I survey the welding on the frame. Once I'm satisfied, I turn to the wall. The grooves in this sloppy paint job keeps my attention for hours. Then, at 5:31, a catastrophe. I'm bored. What a cool situation I've gotten myself into. 4 brain-dead security guards, 5 car crashes, the entire town losing a chunk of their IQ. That's on me, huh? I did that. Fisher said I did that. I did not know I did that, but if Fisher isn't lying, I did do that. I did that, and that's it. No repercussions? Shouldn't I be getting my ass thrown in jail for the rest of my life? Fisher certainly behaved as if it's nothing. Meet me in a week for some tea and cookies. As if that's just the norm. How many people have been fucking with the gate? How often? Were they more or less careful than I'd been? Didn't Andrew say that insane shit has been going on in this town for as long as he can remember? God. I sit up on my bed and it takes a few seconds for my nervous system to stab into my lower back. There's something that I should at least think about is 1971 to now. How many experiments have they run? And I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get the exact number unless it's important to the plot, but I mean, it's like there's more questions than the ones I had asked of the 2 questions, right? Of asking which Spencer are the one we're with and what was the reason to kill Spencer. But more importantly of if Fisher is Spencer's grandpa, then what reason would Spencer really truly have to wanting to kill his grandpa? Like, unless... Like, I don't think he's irredeemable in terms of evil. He's just, a government guy. He has his job to do. I don't see him as a irredeemable villain. Oh my god, I'm getting tongue-tied here. irredeemable villain, right? So what reason would Spencer have? I can't just chalk it up as just Spencer having these moments of like being, insane or some shit because of a lack of sleep. So there's a few things we're still missing, clearly. It's gotten hard enough to think that even pain comes slowly. Many thoughts come to me, but I can't engage with any of them, like I'm trying to grab something at the bottom of a river, but instead of water, it's a river of clay. That's what it must feel like to have your brain fried. And Kurt is supposedly even worse off. Is it permanent? Am I going to feel like shit forever? Will I even be able to get a degree with a half-functioning brain? Not to worry, you can just work at Walmart. I cough out a mute little laugh. What am I saying? Do I expect Fisher to keep paying for me to stay here? He's planning to fucking kill me. It's so obvious. My cooperation would give him peace of mind. Fuck off. I mean, well, how would he not be able to kill you? I mean, he said it would be inconvenient on him. I'm sure he could do it at any time, so why would he need to lie about that? I don't know. I mean, especially since he strangled Spencer A or B already, so I mean... whatever. It's so obvious my cooperation would give him peace of mind. Fuck off. I'm not cooperating with some evil smirking grandpa. He knows for a fact I won't. This is too much. I'm in way over my head. I gotta get out of here. He told me to get out of here. Either get out of here or die. These were the options I was presented with. There's nothing left to do, so screw all this, I guess. I want to go back home. I want to see Mom again. Hope she doesn't notice I can't do basic arithmetic anymore. I'll book a plane first thing in the morning. There's nothing here for me anymore. Well, I mean, if he said run, I'm sure he would know to look there, so it wouldn't be a wise choice unless that's where he'd want him going, and just not saying anything. Like, okay, go live with your mom, live a happy life, get a job, and just, again, work at Walmart. But if he really wanted to kill you, I'm sure he would know to check out your mom's house. He's your grandpa, so, I mean, come on. Well, no, that's not true. There is one thing. The other me, the other Spencer. Fisher claims he doesn't know why I try to kill him, but that can't be right, can it? He'd spoken about killing me to my face as though it was nothing. There's no way he'd get shy about something like that. A part of me doesn't care anymore. Some things are better left unknown. It tells me it would be a waste of time. There's nothing I can do about it either way. Another part of me is screaming. The reason I've gotten so deep in this shit is because I shoved my head in the sand. I mean, the other thing is, if he knows truly the information, and if he's a well-written villain of any sort, or antagonist, then if he has the information and the know-how, it should give him more ability to manipulate Spencer and Kurt and everyone else. Because if you know what your enemies want or are seeking, you know how to manipulate people. It's usually why people don't like to be seen as vulnerable. The most basic response in reasoning is obviously you don't want to be exploited, or you don't want to be vulnerable to people you can't trust. But truly, if you know what a person wants, then you know how to twist their arm. And if you have information that you know other people want, or information that can be leveraged onto a person, then you basically control them. And Fisher basically should be able to basically explain whatever he wants with as many half-truths as he wants. Like, say, is there more mirror worlds than just A and B? Is there a C? Is there a D? I don't know, because he could be speaking many half-truths. And in terms of how many times he's probably had to kill, I'm just going to presume it could be up to even like Rick and Morty levels shit, where they just killed Spencer 100 times to the point where he just doesn't feel anything anymore. And it's just, he's just tired of killing Spencer 100 times. And in this instance, he's just like, okay, you know what, Spencer? I'm tired of your Scooby-Doo gang fucking around. I'm going to do something different. Stop fucking with me. That's basically like Fisher's role, perhaps. Like, it's just a theory, a game theory, but I'm just going to throw it out there, right? What have I got to lose? There isn't any complicated planning. There's virtually no risk. All I have to do is walk up to him and ask. He'll tell me. Afterwards, I'll pack my shit and fly home. I'm guessing working with him is out of the question, especially. It's not like he'll be able to really resolve any of their problems. Or I don't even think they see it as a problem. per se. But it's just like, if Fisher knows and he's not telling anyone and it's his trump card, then truly my only biggest question is, if they know what a problem is, or the problem, or numerous problems, then what is the solution to it all? How do you fix everything? Or how do you realign the things that haven't been fixed? What is Fisher's ultimate goal of what he thinks is the ending solution, if he has one? Which I'm going to presume there is an end solution that's just not been presented yet. But Spencer. Hi, long time no, are you okay? I'm fine. Hey Ian, how good are you at keeping a secret? What? Oh, wait. Do you know anywhere quiet? Somewhere that isn't under a bridge? I got a hell of a story to tell you. Spencer, what are you doing? We drive west through downtown. High-rise buildings give way to suburban houses. At their edge, right as the signs thank us for visiting Rockland, Ian curves into a street. Not 100 yards pass before paved road becomes gravel. Ian carefully navigates around the multitudes of under-construction barriers as entire blocks of scaffolding and bare concrete surround us. Then suddenly, we emerge out onto a state road. The depth of the cracks in the asphalt speak on how ancient this place must be. It's cold out here, but not entirely unpleasant. Despite the narrow shoestring budget build, the bus stop succeeds in keeping us out of the weather. The perfect horizontal drizzle lightly taps on the tin, making a hum like an old TV stuck between channels. I don't need to raise my voice to tell my tale to Ian, and I do tell him. At first, I mask the details, but he haws and ahas at the right places, asks all the right questions. I tell him what I've already told him so many times before. I tell him the stuff that's new, the things that I didn't yet have time to digest. Once I start talking, I can't stop. I'm back from dead now, and I want him to know. But I think we're going to leave it here. The perfect time. We have... Basically, the game has, like, sections or arcs of information, and it splits it up pretty decently, I would have to argue. Like, each time the screen goes to black and we're given a new scene, it presents a new kind of conversation to carry the narrative forward. Every time the screen goes black and transitions, we are genuinely like going to like sort of a new chapter, or at least maybe even officially it does become a new chapter per se. Like the whole arc of us talking with Fisher is in itself perhaps even a chapter, unless I'm wrong. If it's not that, then it's just like plot relevant transitions from scenes. Either they'll call it scenes or they'll call it chapters, but that whole scene with Fisher, really lengthy, but very informative. Whenever I'm playing a visual novel game, at least all this kind of information that we're being dealt with is why I find this visual novel still is one of the better ones to exist. Because, like, I'm still thinking about the plot, right? I'm still contemplating what is going on, and unlike any other visual novel, let's say when I was playing Malavant, for those that watched my Malavant Let's Play, and I was very harsh on that, but I'm not harsh on this. Because it's just like things are well written, things present themselves thematically relevant, characters actually don't just spill their guts or say stereotypical things. They say what needs to be said just enough to keep you on the trail and to keep you questioning. And that's what shows what the difference is between good writing and bad writing. And honestly, movie industry, and it's going to be a side tangent rant before I end it, but it's just like, it's exactly why... Oh, my nose, seriously. It's exactly why the movie industry and the AAA gaming industry are what you'd consider Hollywood for the most part, probably because indie movies aren't really that massive, or don't get that much recognition compared to indie games. But the writing scene in so many prominent industries that have a lot of money have got to have the dumbest, most incompetent writers in existence. I grew up in an era of the 1990s and early 2000s where you had movie directors and writers who could literally do no wrong. I grew up in an era where you just be like, oh hey look, Steven Spielberg's releasing his 20th movie this year and it's going to be good. And we were just so used to that. We got so adjusted to just being like, oh, this director's releasing another movie? Well, we don't even question whether or not it's going to be bad or not. We'll just be like rubbing our hands being like, oh man, can't wait for that new Steven Spielberg movie. And it wasn't even that we were consumers, right? It was just, we knew it was going to be good. The writers were smart. They knew how to write a good story from beginning to end, with some being questionable, but for the most part, people my age, millennials or, Gen Xers, we grew up with such good shit that whenever I am acquainted with good writing, like it doesn't matter that it's visually about furry characters, it doesn't matter that it's a suspense or what genre it is, but I feel like it's just like I can narrow it down and reduce why I like this game. It's because the person, the author, let's say, was it the author's name is Cockhole? Like that's yeah, the author's name is Cockhole. Keep that in mind. If you go to the itch.io page, you can look in the description. It literally says Cockhole. That's his username. When you boot up the game, it says Cockhole, and it shows a picture of like a cat. But they're good with writing, and it's like, I think some people might think, oh, well, like this is great for vague reasons, broad reasons, or because the characters. I think honestly, it's the writing. That it's so refreshing to read a visual novel that is written by a person who understands how to write. Because if I'm going to go off on a tangent with this rant, it's basically me saying, I hate what's happened to the writing industry, where all I see is writers going on strikes, and writers demanding this and that, and writers complaining, Writers Guild saying this and that. Yet the last 10, 15 years has been absolute shit for every goddamn industry. Writing and gaming, like AAA games, keep in mind, and the writing in most Hollywood movies are trash. You get a handful of good ones every year, but most of it is filled with skepticism or low expectations. Because if you have high expectations, people are so used to being disappointed these days. So the biggest takeaway is just the writing. I love good writing, and I am a person that heavily despises when writing is so incompetent, so negligent, so talentless that it just reading it becomes boring or predictable slop. And don't take this as me insulting, let's say various things that have not been my favorite, but just as a compliment to just this developer and my stance on modern industries as a whole, is I would blame writers for a lot of shit. There's a lot of incompetent staff one could blame, and a lot of probable examples people could bring up of why something isn't the writer's fault, but for the most part, god damn, there's a lot of shitty writers out there who just write, they're just so used to growing up writing their own probable Tumblr fanfics that they just don't realize how to make a good story. All they know how to do is make remasters and ruin old shit that used to be good, just because they can't really surpass the quality that I grew up with. So what they have to do is tear down everything that was once good and make it shit. So then when they make their new garbage, it's going to be compared with the modern garbage that they helped create. But I grew up in a time where so many movies were just blockbusters. So many things were just blockbusters. There was a lot less saturation in the gaming market, so whenever there was an idea to make a great game, even if it was mediocre story, usually the gameplay mechanics would back it up, right? There's just so much saturation and garbage and incompetence in every industry but writing. You can tell, since this is a visual novel, its strengths will always be in characters, in pacing, and in writing. Whereas 3D games will be more about pacing, lighting, environmentals, ambience, level design, and things like that, right? There's a lot more important things you have to keep in focus, but visual novels, if you can't write good characters, if you can't create good pacing, if you can't write, those three important things, you need those three skills to make a good visual novel. And I don't want to be too much of a judgmental person, but I'm just very decisive, very blunt. I know what I like, and why I like it, and I can always explain why. And it's exactly why I will compliment this author, Mr. Cockhole, because it has to be good writing, because if it wasn't, I'd be yawning and I'd be getting bored. So, as usual, good job to the author, and I hope people continue finding interest in this series as I continue reading and playing this. But if you've been enjoying, please leave a like, comment, hit the subscribe button to become a full subscriber, hit the notification down below for updates on my videos. Thank you for watching, and until the next time.